Have you ever wondered why some memories feel vivid while others fade like a dream? The brain's memory system is more complex than you might think, involving a dance of neurons, synapses, and chemical signals. Every time you learn something new, your brain rewires itself. This is called synaptic plasticity. It's how we adapt, remember, and even create new memories from scratch. Some memories are stored in the hippocampus, a structure deep in the brain that acts like a temporary archive. Others are transferred to the cortex, where they become long-term memories. And yet, even the most well-structured memory can be lost through injury, disease, or simply the passage of time. But understanding how the brain works is the first step to unlocking its secrets. So what exactly are we talking about? Memory isn't just a single thing. It's a complex process. The brain encodes, stores, and retrieves information through a network of cells, synapses, and chemical signals. At its core, memory is about neurons firing in specific patterns. When we learn something new, our brain creates a unique pattern of electrical and chemical activity across neurons. But memory isn't just about neurons. It also involves proteins, enzymes, and even epigenetic changes. These factors help stabilize and retrieve memories, making them long-lasting. So when we talk about memory, we're talking about the brain's ability to create, maintain, and recall information. It's a dynamic process that happens in real time, shaped by experience and biology. Understanding this process isn't just academic. It has real-world applications, from treating memory disorders to improving learning and decision-making. Memory isn't just about remembering facts. It's about survival. Every time you recall a face, a place, or a lesson, your brain is quietly rebuilding a map of your past to navigate your future. When you learn something new, your brain creates a complex web of connections, synapses firing in specific patterns. These are the fingerprints of your experiences. This constant reshaping means that your memories are not fixed. They are alive. Understanding this helps you take control of your learning and recall, turning memory into a tool you can sharpen. So, why should you care? Because your brain's memory system is the foundation of who you are. It shapes your identity, your choices, and your ability to adapt. It's the silent hero of your life. The earliest recorded ideas about memory date back to ancient Greece, where philosophers like Aristotle proposed that memory was stored in the brain's organs, a term they used for the brain itself. In the 17th century, Descartes introduced the idea that memory was like a wax tablet, where impressions were made and later read by the mind's intellectual faculty. The 19th century saw the rise of experimental psychology, with researchers like Ebbinghaus using memory tests and forgetting curves to quantify memory loss over time. In the 20th century, neuroscience began to map memory systems in the brain, with the discovery of the hippocampus as a key structure for forming new memories. Modern brain imaging and neurophysiology have revealed that memory is a distributed process, involving multiple regions and networks working in concert. Imagine your brain is like a big toy box. Every time you learn something new, like your dog's name, you put a toy in the box. But the toy isn't just a stick. It's a special sticker that makes the toy look like your dog. When you remember your dog's name, you're not touching the toy. It's like the sticker helps your brain know where to find it. The sticker is like a map, and the toy is the thing you remember. If you don't use a memory, like the sticker for your dog's name, it might fade a little. But if you use it again, the sticker gets stronger, like a toy that you play with more gets more colorful. Your brain is like a big magical toy box with millions of stickers. Each sticker helps you remember something. When you want to remember something, you're like a kid looking for the right sticker in the box. So memory is like a sticker in your brain's toy box. You put it there when you learn something, and you find it again when you need to remember. Before any memory can form, the brain has to be ready. This means the right areas of the brain are active and in sync. The prefrontal cortex, hippocampus, and sensory regions must all be engaged in the process. The setup involves attention. When you focus on something, your brain allocates more resources to it. This focus is essential because it determines what information gets stored. The brain also needs context. When you learn something new, your brain combines it with what you already know. This contextual linking helps form stronger and more meaningful memories. Finally, the brain sets the stage for memory formation by creating a temporary storage space. This is called the working memory, where information is held briefly before being consolidated into long-term memory. This setup is crucial because it ensures the information is not only received, but also prepared for storage. Without this, the brain would struggle to form any meaningful memories. Once the memory is encoded, it needs to be stored in the brain. This happens through a process called long-term potentiation, where the strength of connections between neurons increases, making the memory more stable. This strengthening is due to the insertion of more receptors at the synapse, which allows for more efficient communication between neurons. These changes are long-lasting and form the basis of memory storage. Over time, the brain can also consolidate memories by integrating them into existing neural networks. This is why repeated exposure to information helps solidify it in long-term memory. Storing memories is not just about strengthening synapses, but also about organizing information into a structured format. The hippocampus plays a key role in this process, acting like a control center for memory consolidation. This intricate balance of molecular changes, synaptic reinforcement, and network organization ensures that memories are not only stored, but also accessible when needed, setting the stage for the next step in memory retrieval. Now, here's the clever twist. When we recall a memory, the brain doesn't just play it back. It rewires itself to make the memory stronger. This process is called memory consolidation, and it involves strengthening the synaptic connections between neurons involved in that memory. This adaptation is why repetition helps us remember better. Each time we recall a memory, we're reinforcing the neural pathways that hold it. So the brain doesn't just store memories. It constantly updates and strengthens them, making memory a dynamic, living process. At the heart of memory lies a molecular symphony. Proteins, ions, and neurotransmitters dancing in synchrony to encode experience. When we learn something new, the brain strengthens connections between neurons, creating a physical map of our experiences. This strengthening is driven by a cascade of molecular events, including the activation of NMDA receptors and the insertion of AMPA receptors into the membrane. These molecular changes are not just temporary. They form the physical basis of memory, stored in the structure and chemistry of the brain's neural networks. The brain's ability to store and retrieve memories is a balance of stability and flexibility, a dynamic interplay between memory consolidation and recall. Imagine your brain as a vast library, where every memory is a book. But instead of shelves, it's a tangled web of neurons, each firing like a librarian searching for the right book. When you learn something new, your brain writes the book and places it in a specific section. But it doesn't just store it. It creates a map of how to find it again, like a book index. But if the map is damaged or the book is misplaced, the memory becomes hard to find. That's why repetition helps. It strengthens the map, making it more reliable. And if you're trying to remember something complex, your brain might even create multiple maps, like a library with several indexes for the same book, each highlighting a different angle. So while this analogy is simple, it's accurate. Your brain is both a library and a map maker, constantly building, updating, and retrieving memories with remarkable precision. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end. I remember my grandfather's voice, warm and steady, as he read me a story. But now, I can't recall a single word he ever said. What if the stories we cling to are just shadows of what once was? Our minds are like fragile glass, beautiful but easily cracked. We believe we know what happened, but the truth is often buried beneath layers of imagination and emotion. The stories we tell ourselves about the past are not always the same as the events that shaped them. Memory is not a recording. It's a reconstruction. and we are the architects of it. We think we remember, but in truth, we are remembering a version of the past that may never have existed. This is the quiet tragedy of memory. We live in the echo of what we thought we saw. We're talking about the way our mind doesn't just store memories like files in a computer. It reconstructs them, and in doing so, it can alter, distort, or even fabricate what we think we remember. This isn't a glitch in the system. It's a fundamental part of how memory works. Our brain fills in gaps with what it thinks is familiar, even if that means bending the truth. We remember things wrong not just because we're human, but because our memories are shaped by emotion, context, and even the stories we tell ourselves to make sense of the past. The truth isn't always what we remember, and sometimes the more we try to hold on to the past, the more it slips through our fingers, leaving us with something that may never have been real. You might think your memories are the closest you can get to truth, but they're not. They're stories you tell yourself about the past, and they can be as misleading as a lie you've told yourself for years. When you remember something wrong, it's not just about getting facts wrong. It's about getting the meaning of your own life wrong, and that has consequences you might not even realize. The people you love, the moments that shaped you, the decisions you made, they're all filtered through the lens of your unreliable mind. What you remember may not be what happened at all. It's easy to dismiss the idea that your memory is fallible. But if you've ever wondered why you feel a certain way about a person or event, it might be because your mind has rewritten the story to fit your current emotions. The real danger of faulty memory isn't just losing your grip on the past. It's losing the ability to understand yourself. You can't know who you are if you don't know what truly happened. So, you should care about this not just because it's interesting, but because it's personal. It's about the truth of your own experience and how much of it you might have gotten wrong. The first recorded instance of memory error dates back to ancient Mesopotamia, where scribes mistook the king's name for a commoner's, altering history in the process. In Rome, Cicero warned of the fallibility of memory, yet his own speeches were later misattributed, proving even the wisest can't escape the tide of error. The Renaissance brought a new reverence for memory, yet even great thinkers like Leonardo da Vinci made errors in their notes, sometimes years after the fact. In the 18th century, philosophers like Hume and Kant began questioning memory's reliability. But even they were influenced by the very fallibility they sought to understand. The 20th century saw memory become a battleground. Witnesses misremembered events, and history was rewritten, sometimes with devastating consequences. Today, memory is both our greatest tool and our greatest danger, shaping identity, truth, and the very fabric of what we call history. Imagine you're at the park, and you see a dog running by. You remember it as a big black dog, but in reality, it was a small brown dog. Your memory changed the story, not because you were lying, but because your brain filled in the blanks. Your brain is like a painter. It paints a picture based on what it sees, but sometimes it adds colors or shapes that aren't there. You don't notice the painting is wrong. You just think it's real. When you remember something, you're not remembering the exact moment. You're remembering what you think happened. Your brain uses parts of the story it knows to guess the rest. Sometimes it gets it wrong. Even if you try to remember exactly what happened, your brain will still change the story. It's not trying to trick you. It's just trying to make sense of the world. And sometimes it messes up. So when you remember something, you're not just remembering the past. You're remembering your brain's best guess. And that guess might be wrong. That's why we remember things wrong. The mind is a storyteller, not a recorder. When we experience something, our brain doesn't just capture it. It weaves it into the narrative of who we are. This process begins with sensory input, sight, sound, touch. But even then, the brain starts to interpret and shape what it receives before it's stored. The initial memory, known as the fragile first impression, is built from a mix of real sensations and the brain's own assumptions and biases. Even the first impression isn't perfect. The brain prioritizes what it thinks is important, often distorting details to fit a story it already believes. This setup is the foundation of all memory. It's where the illusion begins, and where the line between truth and fiction is first blurred. When we try to recall something, the brain doesn't retrieve a perfect copy. Instead, it reconstructs the memory from fragments stored in different parts of the brain. This reconstruction is influenced by current emotions, knowledge, and even cultural context, which can subtly alter the memory without us realizing it. This process is not a flaw, but a necessary function. The brain must manage vast amounts of information, and memory is a form of mental shorthand. The more time passes, the more likely the memory is to shift, shaped by the present rather than the past, making it hard to distinguish truth from imagination. The third step is where the mind plays its most subtle trick. It fills in the blanks with what makes sense, not what actually happened. This is where the brain tries to make sense of a fragmented past. These fill-ins are not random. They're shaped by our beliefs, our fears, and our desires. The mind is a storyteller, and it's always looking for a coherent narrative, even if that narrative is wrong. This is how we end up remembering events that never happened, or forgetting ones that did. The mind isn't a vault. It's a workshop where memory is constantly being shaped, revised, and reimagined. The twist is that we often don't realize we've been rewritten. Our memories are not just wrong, they're constructed. And in that construction, we lose something essential about who we were and who we think we are. Neuroscience tells us that memory is not a recording, but a reconstruction. A fragile, adaptive process shaped by context, emotion, and the brain's need to make sense of the world. Every time we recall something, we're not retrieving a stored file, but rebuilding a version of the past, often influenced by what we believe to be true or what we want to remember. This is why trauma can rewrite memories, and why eyewitness testimony is often unreliable. The mind is not a vault, but a storyteller. The science hums beneath all of this, quiet, unrelenting, a reminder that our minds are not infallible, but beautifully, tragically human. Imagine a photograph that's been through 100 lifetimes. It's faded, torn, and missing pieces. You think you know what it looks like, but the image you remember is not the one that was ever truly there. You try to piece it together, using memory as your guide. But the more you fill in the gaps, the more you're shaping the past instead of recalling it. It's like trying to rebuild a house from a dream. The mind doesn't store memories like a camera. It's more like a story we tell ourselves, one that changes with the telling. And sometimes the story becomes more real than the truth. We don't remember the past. We reconstruct it. And in the process, we lose the past itself, replacing it with something we think we remember. It's a beautiful, terrible kind of illusion. So, when you think you remember something, you're not remembering it. You're remembering a version of it. One that's been shaped, softened, and sometimes entirely rewritten. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end. You remember the first time you forgot something important. The moment it hit you, that gap in your mind, that quiet ache of absence. It was a small thing, but it left a mark. Now imagine that gap isn't just forgotten. It's been rewritten. Not by time, but by science. The idea that memories can be altered, even erased, is both terrifying and mesmerizing. This is the world of memory manipulation, where the line between truth and fiction is blurred. It's not just about healing trauma anymore. It's about shaping reality itself. What if your memories are not just stories you tell yourself, but fragments of a puzzle you can't fully assemble? What if someone could rewrite them, and you wouldn't know the difference? This is the story of memory manipulation. Its promise, its peril, and the questions it forces us to ask about who we are and what we can trust. Memory manipulation is not just about erasing or implanting recollections. It's about the fragile, often unreliable nature of our past. We think we know what happened, but memory is a story we tell ourselves, not a record. In therapy, memory manipulation might take the form of guided recall, where a patient is encouraged to revisit a traumatic event. But how do we know what they're remembering is real, or what they've constructed from fragments? In forensic science, memory is treated as evidence. A witness testimony, recovered memories, or even brain scans. But how do we distinguish between a true memory and one that's been shaped by suggestion, bias, or trauma? The line between memory and imagination is thin, and the consequences of getting it wrong are profound. A false memory can change a person's life, or even alter the course of justice. So we're not just talking about technology or science here. We're talking about the very core of who we are, our sense of self, our understanding of the past, and the stories we tell to make sense of it all. You might not think your memories are fragile, but they shape your identity. Every time you recall a moment, you're not just remembering, it's rewriting, and that rewriting can change who you believe yourself to be. In therapy, memories are tools for healing, but they can also be traps. A single false memory can lead you to blame yourself for things that never happened, or to cling to relationships that have long since ended. Even in everyday life, you're influenced by memories you don't even realize are being altered. Advertisements, social media, and the way stories are told can shape your recollection of events, often without you knowing. You might think you have control over your memories, but they are shaped by forces you can't always see. The more you understand this, the more you can protect yourself from the dangers of memory manipulation. When you care about memory, you're not just caring about your past. You're caring about your future. You're protecting your sense of self, your justice, and your ability to make sense of the world. In the 1950s, memory was still seen as a fragile, unreliable thing, like a cracked mirror. But scientists began to wonder, could we shape it? Even mend it? The idea of memory reconsolidation started to take root, like a seed in dry soil. Researchers found that memories could be altered, sometimes even created through suggestion and repetition. By the 1980s, therapists were experimenting with techniques like guided imagery and hypnosis, believing they could help patients access buried memories, sometimes with unintended consequences. In the 1990s, forensic science took an interest. Memories were no longer just personal. They became evidence. The idea of recovered memory therapy sparked both hope and controversy. Today, we stand at the edge of a new frontier: memory manipulation through technology. From neural implants to AI-driven reconstruction, the line between truth and illusion is thinner than ever. Imagine your brain is like a big, dusty drawer. Every memory is a picture inside. Sometimes the pictures get mixed up or faded. That's when you need to find the right way to clear them out without making things worse. Therapists help people find the right pictures and put them back in the right place. But sometimes the pictures are too blurry. Then we have to be careful not to make new ones. Forensic scientists do something similar, but with evidence. They look for clues that can help rebuild the story. But even then, they have to be careful not to invent new pieces that never happened. The whole idea is to be honest with the past, not just make it fit what we want. Because if we mess with memories, we might forget what's real. So, the core idea is simple. Be careful with your memories. They're like fragile things, and even the best tools can't always fix what's broken. The first step in memory manipulation is creating a safe, controlled environment where the individual feels secure enough to engage with their past. This often takes place in a clinical or forensic setting, where trust and confidentiality are paramount. In these spaces, memory retrieval is approached with care, like a delicate operation. The therapist or investigator must first build rapport, ensuring the subject is emotionally prepared to confront potentially painful or fragmented recollections. The setup may also involve the use of specific tools or prompts, written questions, guided imagery, or digital reconstructions to help the subject navigate the complex terrain of their own mind. This phase is not just about accessing memories. It's about understanding the emotional and psychological context that shapes how those memories are stored and retrieved. Every detail matters in the setup, because the way we remember is deeply tied to how we feel, and the first step is ensuring that feeling is both safe and intentional. The second step in memory manipulation is the activation of the neural pathways that encode and store memories. This involves the brain's ability to recall and reorganize stored information, often through cues or emotional triggers that reshape the memory structure. In therapy, this process might be guided by a professional using techniques like guided imagery or hypnosis, which can access deep-seated memories and reframe them in a more positive or accurate light. This mechanism relies on the brain's plasticity, its ability to change and adapt. When memories are accessed, the brain reactivates the neural patterns that were used to form them, but it also has the power to alter or distort them in the process. This is why memory is not a fixed record, but a dynamic and malleable construct. The act of recalling can, in itself, reshape the memory, making it both a tool for healing and a source of potential error. Understanding this mechanism is key to grasping the ethical and scientific implications of memory manipulation. It is not just about altering what we remember, but about redefining who we are through the stories we tell ourselves. The clever twist lies in the way memories are not just replayed, but restructured. Through guided imagery and emotional suggestion, the brain begins to reinterpret past events, blending truth with perception. This restructuring isn't about erasing memories, but altering their emotional weight. The same event can feel more or less painful, more or less real, depending on the cues given. This is where the line between therapy and manipulation blurs. The therapist may believe they are helping a patient, but they are also shaping the way that patient sees themselves and their past. The clever twist, then, is that memory isn't a static record. It's a living, evolving construct, one that can be guided, influenced, and reshaped with the right language and intention. Underneath the surface of memory manipulation lies a science that is both delicate and precise, like a scalpel slicing through the layers of the brain to reach the core of a recollection. This science is rooted in neuroimaging and pharmacology, where the brain's chemistry and structure are studied to understand how memories are formed, stored, and even altered. There is a growing body of research that suggests memories are not static. They are dynamic, shifting with each retrieval, and this fluidity is what makes them so malleable. Yet, as we push the boundaries of what we can do with memory, we must also ask, where does the line between healing and harm begin? And who decides what memory should be changed? The science is advancing, but the ethical questions it raises are not just technical. They are philosophical, moral, and deeply human. Imagine a library where every book is a memory, but the librarian has a habit of rearranging the shelves. Sometimes they move entire sections, and sometimes they just shuffle the order of the pages. You never know if what you're reading is the same story or a different version. The books are real, but the way they're arranged is not. The librarian doesn't lie. They just don't remember what they've done. They believe the shelves are correct, even when they've been changed. You can't trust the arrangement, but you can't ignore it either. In therapy, the librarian is trying to reorganize painful memories to make them less harmful. In forensic science, they're trying to recover a version of the past that was hidden or altered. Both are working with the same tools, but different goals. The librarian is neither good nor evil, just human. They're trying to make sense of a chaotic world, and in doing so, they shape the very memories they meant to preserve. So, when we talk about memory manipulation, we're not just talking about technology or science. We're talking about the human mind, its fragility, its resilience, and the way it shapes who we are. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end. You've probably noticed that memory is not a fixed thing. It's a process, a craft, and sometimes even a mystery. Every day we encounter information that slips through our fingers, leaving behind only fragments of what we once knew. But what if we could shape it? What if we could take control of the way we remember, turning the haphazard into the intentional? That's where the science of memory begins, and where our journey into cultivating it starts. In this video, we'll explore the tools and techniques that can help you build a more reliable, vivid, and lasting memory. Not as a trick, but as a skill. So let's begin not with the methods, but with the question. What does it mean to cultivate memory in an age where information is everywhere, but focus is scarce? This is not just about remembering. It's about understanding how memory works, and how we can shape it to serve us better than it ever has before. When we talk about memory, we're not just referring to the ability to recall facts or events. Memory is the brain's way of organizing experiences, emotions, and knowledge, and it shapes how we understand the world and ourselves. It's a complex process that involves encoding, storage, and retrieval. Every moment we experience is transformed into a memory, but not all memories are equally vivid or accessible. Some fade, some distort, and some are lost entirely. To enhance recall, we need to understand how the brain forms and retrieves memories. This isn't just about memorizing lists or dates. It's about building mental frameworks that help the brain make sense of new information. Memory isn't static. It evolves over time, and with the right techniques, we can strengthen the connections between ideas and experiences, making them more resilient and easier to access. This section will explore the nature of memory itself, laying the groundwork for the techniques and tools that follow. Understanding memory as a dynamic process is the first step in cultivating it effectively. You might think memory is just about remembering facts, but it's actually about who you are. Every moment you recall shapes your identity, your decisions, and your sense of self. When you forget something, you're not just losing information. You're losing a piece of your story. Memory is the thread that weaves your past into your present. Even in a world that values speed and efficiency, memory is a quiet but powerful form of intelligence. It allows you to learn from the past and navigate the future with wisdom. To ignore memory is to ignore the very fabric of your experience. It's not just about remembering. It's about understanding how you've arrived at this moment. So, secretly, you should care about memory, because it's more than a tool. It's the silent architect of your life, and that's something worth nurturing. The ancient Greeks were among the first to systematically study memory. They believed that memory was not just a passive function, but a skill that could be honed through discipline and practice. They developed the method of loci, an early form of mental imagery, where one would mentally place items to be remembered in familiar locations, creating a kind of mental map. This technique was refined over centuries, influencing everything from Roman orators to medieval scholars, who used it to memorize religious texts and philosophical treatises. The Renaissance brought a renewed interest in human potential, and memory techniques were seen as a means to unlock the mind's full capacity, a concept that resonates with modern cognitive science. From the ancient world to the Enlightenment, memory techniques have evolved, yet their core purpose has remained the same: to bridge the gap between fleeting thought and enduring knowledge. This history reminds us that memory is not a fixed trait, but a dynamic skill, one that can be trained, sharpened, and refined through time and technique. Memory is like a garden. You plant seeds of knowledge, water them with attention, and let them grow into strong, clear memories. But if you forget to water, the seeds might dry up and disappear. So you have to keep checking in, asking yourself, did I really learn this? Time has tools, like a magnifying glass, to look closely at the details of a memory. That helps you remember it better. And if a memory starts to fade, you can dig it up, water it again, and plant it somewhere else where it can grow stronger. So the secret is to be kind to your memory. Treat it like a living thing, and give it the care it needs to stay alive and bright. To begin this process, you must first create a dedicated, distraction-free environment. A quiet room, dimly lit, with minimal stimuli, helps your mind focus on the task at hand. is not about comfort, but about control over the space where memory is cultivated. Next, you should prepare your materials: a notebook, pen, and perhaps a timer. These are the tools that will shape your practice. The notebook should be clean, not pre-filled, allowing for pure, unfiltered thought. Once your intention is clear, you need to activate your focus. This is where the mind begins to engage with the memory task. It's not about force, but about allowing your mind to settle into the task with purpose and presence. Finally, you must commit to the process. This is where discipline meets curiosity. You are not just trying to remember, but to understand how memory functions, how it can be shaped, and how it can be strengthened through practice and intention. The second step in this process involves the formation of neural pathways. When we retrieve a memory, the brain reactivates the same neural connections that were used during encoding. These pathways are strengthened through repetition and association, creating a more stable and accessible memory trace. The more frequently we engage with a memory, the more entrenched it becomes. However, memory retrieval is not just about reactivating old pathways. It also involves the brain's ability to reconstruct and reorganize the memory, often filling in gaps with related information. This reconstruction is why memories can sometimes be distorted or inaccurate. The brain does not simply retrieve a memory as a perfect copy, but as an interpretation shaped by current knowledge and context. Understanding how memory is formed and accessed is the first step in mastering it. It allows us to approach memory not as a passive record, but as an active, malleable process that we can shape and refine. The clever twist lies in the way the brain reorganizes information, linking new data with existing knowledge. By creating unexpected associations, you tap into the brain's natural curiosity and strengthen memory pathways. This twist is not just about memorization. It's about meaning. When you connect new ideas to something you already know, the brain builds a more resilient memory network. This is where creativity meets cognition. The clever twist doesn't just help you remember, it helps you understand, and that's where true learning begins. In essence, the clever twist is the spark that turns memory into meaning. It's the moment when the brain says, "This is worth remembering." Beneath the surface of memory, a complex symphony of neurons and chemicals orchestrates every recall. These neural networks, shaped by repetition and context, form the foundation of our ability to remember. When we engage with memory through techniques like spaced repetition or visualization, we're essentially strengthening these pathways, making them more efficient and resilient. Neuroplasticity allows the brain to rewire itself, adapting to the demands of memory training. This flexibility is what makes learning and recalling possible, even in the face of aging or injury. The science behind memory is not just about what we remember. It's about how we remember, and how our minds shape the world through the stories we carry. Imagine a library where every book is a memory, and the shelves are your mind. You can't just glance at a book and remember its contents. You have to walk through the aisles, touch the spines, and even open the pages to recall what's inside. Some books are stacked high, others are buried deep. The trick isn't just to find them, it's to build a system, a mental index that helps you navigate without getting lost. The analogy gets even simpler. Your mind is like a well-organized warehouse. Each memory is a box, and the labels, your mental associations, are the only way to find what you need. If you don't label the box, you might never find it again. That's why repetition, context, and emotional charge act as the labels that make memories stick. So, don't get bogged down by complexity. Your mind's a warehouse, not a computer. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be functional, organized, and ready. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end.